At this point, is it already too late for a way too early 2026 Dynasty first round mock? It's LaNorris Sellers for me at the 101 QB1. Let me be clear, I do not think Arch Manning will declare for the 2026 NFL Draft. Accordingly, LaNorris Sellers is just on a crash course trajectory. Talk about Dynasty, upside to be a top 10 NFL draft pick, regardless if he's the first, second, third, maybe even fourth quarterback taken in the context of this class, which projects to be quite strong at the top. LaNorris Sellers, it's the potential league-winning upside that he provides with that dual threat ability. Let me be clear, I am a South Carolina fan. Does that disqualify me? You be the judge. If anything, I think it overqualifies me to be able to acknowledge the good, the bad, and the ugly. And you talk about my quarterback evaluation history. Last year, look, I was fooled by Carson Beck. But QB2, Cam Ward. Talk about betting on players taking steps. LaNorris Sellers in 2025, year 2 with South Carolina as the full-time starter. I anticipate him improving meaningfully. The ability to be in structure, take your medicine, protect the ball better. I anticipate him making strides in those areas. You couple that with the unbelievable one-of-one escapability within the pocket, extending the play. This guy just doesn't go down. People want to say maybe Clemson, skews some of the analytics, all the missed tackles forced there. That was a culmination of putting things together when you don't have your A game as a passer, when you're going against NFL quality opposition on defense. And you find a way, Superman, so to speak, Cam Newton, talk about the rushing similarities. No one's ever going to be Cam Newton. That career, unbelievable. But LaNorris Sellers, willing your team to victory when it matters most, do or die. He did that as a teenager in the SEC. Going to your arch rival, another top 15 CFP hopeful in Clemson, LaNorris Sellers, the arm strength, the ability to make deep throws over the middle, the play extension ability. There's just too much that he can do. For all that he can't do right now, I anticipate him making strides, developing to the point where he leads the South Carolina team under the tutelage now of a new OC in Mike Shula, who, guess what? Talk about Cam Newton, has worked with him firsthand, has worked with a Josh Allen at the NFL level. LaNorris Sellers is going to have to assume a lot of the load, even more so than last year. You talk about all the defensive talent going to the NFL draft. He's going to have to be a tide, the rising tide that elevates all boats here, and I think LaNorris Sellers is going to be able to do that. Talk about the platforms that he is going to get against some of the other top dogs in this class. A Garrett Nussmeier, head-to-head. A Cade Klubnik, again, head-to-head. A John Mateer. It doesn't get any more difficult than the SEC schedule. I think LaNorris Sellers, he's going to show enough to justify a 101 rookie pick in 2026. 102, Drew Aller. I think this is going to surprise probably many. But for me, you talk about the projectability, again, anchoring myself in upside. The physical profile is there for Drew Aller. I think the rushing upside, a little bit underrated. Talk about over a 17-game NFL season, 5+ rushing touchdowns. I see that in the cards for Drew Aller, but I see many more touchdowns as a passer. He's going to have to make meaningful strides and improvements like LaNorris Sellers. Talk about a LaNorris Sellers, South Carolina comparison, Penn State. You've lost key talent on defense. You're going to have to make significant improvements in your own game to make the offense the relative focal point in lifting up your CFP hopes. You lose a Tyler Warren. You still return some of the best running backs in the country in Singleton and Allen. And now all of a sudden, I am very looking forward to how this receiver room projects with A guy like a Trevor Pena, bring in Kyron Hudson. Competent receivers that I think Penn State has been lacking relatively in the context of that upper echelon Big Ten power wide receiver room. There's been a revamp that I think is going to massively benefit Drew Aller. I don't think you're going to see zero catch games from receivers like you saw in a game where it mattered the most and you force some things. You've got to improve some decision making, some accuracy, but I think that is naturally going to improve with the talent around him, with individual development. He has easy arm strength. You want to look at if anyone's a quarterback arm angle or quarterback throwing motion sicko, look up Brad Mendler, his quarterback coach. It's been really fun to see his development. Drew Aller as a passer, as a thrower. Talk about the NFL prototypical now, the rotational school of thought. It's so easy with a Drew Aller. Make any type of throw you need. I anticipate a big time season from Drew Aller to again put himself right in line to be a top 10 NFL draft pick, and with the tools in his tool bag, warrant a top 2 type of dynasty rookie pick in your Superflex leagues. He was talked about with a CFP potential run as being a top 5 type of pick last year. Putting into context, the lack of talent really beyond the Cam Ward in terms of the top high end, Drew Aller was figuring to be that QB2. I think he can be the QB2 in a much stronger 2026 draft class for very good reason in his ability to separate himself, acquit himself more than well enough in big time games. Ohio State, Oregon's of the world, another potential Big Ten championship. I expect big things from Drew Aller. What do you think of these top 2 quarterbacks? Let me know if you're already yelling at me and you've already clicked off in the comments. Moving on to the 103. Jeremiah Love at 103. Am I too low on Love? I could see him being a potential NFL draft first round pick, in which case there's plenty of 101 arguments. This is not a direct indictment on Jeremiah Love. It just speaks to how I view the top of this quarterback class. And frankly, even below the top, some of the relative depth in that first round. Jeremiah Love, though, this is a guy that's got requisite size, athleticism. You talk about freak plays. I mean, guy who does well with contact, bouncing off defenders. But he doesn't really even need that with that breakaway speed that he has in his tool set. You talk about, though, the leaping, the hurdle ability. It's unbelievable. Jumping over guys, making them look silly. We're going to see a potential Barkley-esque Jaguars run with a Jeremiah Love in 2025 in college. I'd love to see it. I think if anyone's capable of it, it is Jeremiah Love. Notre Dame, again, talk about the guys going early in this draft for me, projecting how they're going to have to massively carry their teams for their teams to deliver on that ultimate CFP hope and success. Jeremiah Love, less Riley Leonard, who, the good and the bad, with Leonard there, a whole mixed bag. I get it. But we can't just assume Notre Dame's quarterback room is going to take a massive leap. Jeremiah Love, he's going to have to come up in big spots, and I think he will do that. RB1, clearly. Jeremiah Love, he's got the requisite blend. A modern bell cow, he checks the box for me. Jeremiah Love here, RB1 at the 103. Cade Klubnik, 104. If anything, my South Carolina bias. You want to check that in at the door? I'll call a spade in recognizing talent that Cade Klubnik has. You want to talk about growth, maturation, development at the quarterback position, the refinement? Cade Klubnik has shown a lot of that already in college. You talk about the veteran presence, what he can do in 2025 with this Clemson team, be one of the best in the country. You talk about weaponry, the receiver room, it's unbelievable compared to a Drew Aller in Penn State, what LaNorris Sellers has had to work with. And yet still, I have Cade Klubnik ranked this highly because of what I think in his ability to drive that offense, to lift up, to make your Antonio Williams, Bryant Westcoast, TJ Moores incredibly relevant, incredibly effective producers because of what Cade Klubnik's able to do. He is a relative Bo Nix comp if I've seen one. The relatively common comp to this point that oftentimes maybe I don't see in prospects, but the physical profile and the athleticism is there with a Bo Nix. The trajectory, you talk about a veteran quarterback in college boding well for a Cade Klubnik. I think he's going to show a lot of things to NFL evaluators in 2025. Talk about a bet as there is to be a potential first-round quarterback in 2026. I think it very well could be a Cade Klubnik. And what he already has as a floor and the ceiling, he's got enough arm strength. He has maneuverability in and out of structure. Cade Klubnik, I can see a team or two or three talking themselves into spending an early NFL draft pick. Could he be QB1? I'm not ruling it out. Cade Klubnik, 104. It's a good class at the top, especially at the quarterback position. At 105, Garrett Nussmeier. I think this is the one where everybody seems to love as the clear favorite for potential QB1 NFL draft purposes, and I understand it. I just think physically, athletically, from a fantasy, from an upside perspective, I think he has more than what he's shown. There's just been so little in terms of the rushing ability. Play extension, let's see steps. I'm more than open to seeing a monster Garrett Nussmeier 2025 in which he vaunts himself into a clear tier at the top potentially, because talk about within structure, pushing the ball down the field, repeatability, decision-making, the processing. Garrett Nussmeier, the son of Doug Nussmeier, former Eagles offensive staff. Now he's the offensive coordinator under Kellen Moore in New Orleans. Is that a potential fit? That would be very interesting for a Garrett Nussmeier. But talk about the here and the now and the future. Garrett Nussmeier, there is upside. There is safety. I just don't quite, at the moment, project him in the same light athletically. Draft capital, it might be above. It might very well be 101 compared to the other three ranked ahead of him. But in terms of what I would draft, how I would rank players, let's see what the exact intricacies, the idiosyncrasies of the situations, the teams that end up drafting in the top 10. Finally, a receiver. You can stop your anger right here with a Jordan Tyson. Arizona State, complete alpha of a player. Talk about the size. In dreaming of who can be a potential wide receiver one in the NFL within the construct of this 2026 class, I think it's Jordan Tyson. Talk about college football receivers. You got your 2027 guys. And then Jordan Tyson, I think, figures right into the mix. The athleticism, the inside-outside versatility. Talk about going out there and being able to dominate, elevating Arizona State, playing a massive role in putting them in position to be in the college football playoff. I'm just so bummed we didn't see him in some key games down the stretch due to injury. But what he put on the field, how he ended last season, willing this Arizona State team to another CFP berth, I think is fully in the cards with a Jordan Tyson. If there's a guy, talk about the upside at the receiver position, who I think can be that alpha presence in an NFL offense, a true primary guy, I think it's Jordan Tyson. Would love to see maybe some more after the catch, some more explosiveness, but with injury, it's tough to analyze how healthy he was, which makes it even more impressive how he was able to dominate. Can't wait to watch Jordan Tyson and Arizona State in 2025. Nick Singleton at the 107, Penn State, RB2. I like Nick Singleton quite a bit. You talk about a potential top 5 had he declared in this past NFL draft. Speaking to his talent, no slouch. If you were a top 5 RB in this class, speaking to your underlying talent, I think he projects as an easy top 3 running back, in this 2026 class. Talk about the explosiveness, how well he is built as a runner, some of the physicality he's able to impose on defenses with that speed, that home run ability. He can receive relatively well out of the backfield. I think this offense is going to be one of, if not the best, in the country. There's no excuse with Klubnik, Drew Aller, Nick Singleton, Katron Allen in that backfield. Yes, you lose the best tight end in the country with a Tyler Warren, but you replenished, you revamped the receiver room. I think Nick Singleton is in for a big-time season. Interestingly, with that committee relatively in Penn State with the Katron Allen, I think it makes it that much easier to predict and to envision Nick Singleton's role, a modern NFL committee, to still garner 60% snap share. To be a relative three-down back, if there truly is one in the NFL outside of a few handful of players, the elite of the elite, who are getting 75+% of the snaps, he could very well be a top 5. Let's see what happens. But he is a safe lock for me to be in that top 12 mix in your rookie drafts. 108, wide receiver 2, it's Makai Lemon for me out of USC. And the more you watch Makai Lemon, the more you're dreaming on, is he the wide receiver 1 potentially of this 2026 class? I could see it. Talk about primary slot in that Lincoln Riley system. Talk about a potential Jaden Mayava taking steps into his true first full-time year as a starter for USC. We'll see how it plays out, but regardless of who's taking snaps there, Makai Lemon, talk about the route running, the explosiveness. Is slot only a negative? I don't view that at all. Talk about easy route to targets, path to relevancy in any NFL offense. Let me tell you who I see shades of when I'm watching Makai Lemon. It's Luther Burden. And I am a big Luther Burden fan. I had him wide receiver 1. I think there's a case he very well could still be wide receiver 1 in this 2025 NFL draft class. Let's see what happens. Tet, clear favorite. We know Travis Hunter's a monster. But Luther Burden, that type of comp, really speaks to the upside of Makai Lemon. A guy who was potentially going to be a defensive back coming into USC out of Los Alamitos. An extremely fun prospect to watch in Makai Lemon. I think big things are in store for him. You talk about what he's able to provide teams in the kickoff game. There's upside nonetheless, though, as an every down player, a focal point of an NFL pass game, a go-to guy, the ability to fight through contact, make you miss ability. Makai Lemon, man, he checks off a lot of boxes, and I think a massive season is potentially in store for him. Eric Singleton Jr., Auburn now, a bit of a transfer trio in this late first round. Talk about what I prefer, a guy who could dominate inside, outside. Out of the slot, though, I think Eric Singleton could be one of the best receivers in the SEC. A Cam Coleman already there on the outside. Auburn, a very talented wide receiver room. I think Eric Singleton could have the best year out of anyone in that room. Talk about stepping up when it matters most in big-time moments. How about against a Georgia defense where you nearly beat? Massive upset with Georgia Tech there. Eric Singleton, maybe there's some limitations as far as how he projects to be a true primary guy in the NFL, a wide receiver 1, so to speak. It's just the movement skills, the separation ability, flexibility within an NFL offense. I think teams are going to covet that to a top 50 type of degree in the NFL draft. Mekhi Hughes, Oregon, by virtue of Tulane, his first couple seasons. This is a no-nonsense prototype Oregon runner in a Dan Lanning-led team, seemingly. You've got a Jordan James who has a nice season last year. I think Mekhi Hughes is a relatively souped-up 2.0 version of a Jordan James. Ham and egg, no nonsense, just inside the tackles, gets you what you need, and then some. The explosiveness, the true breakaway ability, maybe a bit in question compared to some of the other guys in this class, the top of this running back class. But Mekhi Hughes, you talk about the role that he's going to have to play now with recent news of a potential season-ending injury for an Evan Stewart in that receiver room, with it being Dante Moore's first time being that fully fledged starter. I know UCLA as a freshman, some weird stuff, but nonetheless, Mekhi Hughes is going to have a big-time role to play in Oregon's potential path to another CFP, and I think he's going to be able to deliver on that. Talk about the size, the ability to eat a lot of carries, assume a relative workload that translates to the NFL level. I think there's a relatively clean day 2 projection with the Mekhi Hughes. I think there is receiving upside there compared to the relatively fewer and far between that we've seen at Tulane. Eager to see how Oregon relies on him as a bell cow. Really interested to see how this Big Ten plays out. Oregon right in the thick of it, and they will be, in part due to a Mekhi Hughes. John Mateer, Oklahoma, transfers from Washington State, a 5th quarterback in the first 11 picks. I'll spoil it for you. A 5th quarterback in round 1. I really think John Mateer, talk about transfer impact. In his lone year at Oklahoma, he will have unbelievable flashes, more than flashes, to justify him being a potential first-round NFL draft pick, potential Jackson Dart draft capital. Absolutely can see it with a John Mateer. You talk about the arm angles, the manipulation. As a passer, he has incredible highlight reel throws. But as a rusher, the athleticism, the size really isn't quite there. But what about a guy like a Baker Mayfield, a former Oklahoma quarterback? I mean, you don't have to be a Josh Allen, a Drew Aller type of size to win, to dominate, to make a difference, to be a franchise quarterback at the NFL level. I really think John Mateer is going to show a lot of things. He's got to clean up some of the turnover-worthy plays, some of the fumbling, some of the sacks that come with a gunslinging mentality, and I think he will. He's going to have to learn the hard way, relatively speaking, early in Oklahoma's season. Michigan, week 2. I expect John Mateer to show some things to warrant him being in the thick of this mix. QB5 for me. Potential first-round guy. Maybe it's a cop-out, playing it safe. Throw in an Ohio State receiver. Carnell Tate at the 112 here, rounding out the first round. Talk about the size to dominate on the outside. Different than some of the Ohio State receivers that we've been accustomed to in recent years out of the slot. A little bit smaller in terms of build. He's going to have to be a go-to guy for a Julian Sayin in his first action as a full-time starter, which I think he will. Talk about the route running for his size. At Ohio State, if you're getting on the field, you have a certain level of ability, and Carnell Tate has that. I am trusting in his projection to be potential fringe round 1 guy. I could see it. The numbers aren't going to jump out at you. But you've got to look past that and understand the sheer amount of talent on the field at any one time in that Ohio State room. Carnell Tate is going to have more opportunity this season. I think he's going to relatively run with it and establish himself in this 2026 NFL draft, guys. What do you think of this first round, of this top 12? Who are your, oh my God, what are you doing? How do you rank them this high? Who are your favorite potential under-the-radar guys outside of this first round? I got to say, for me, let's watch a Sam Leavitt, what he's able to do. Arizona State, I think there's full possibility to talk about a guy who just missed the cut. Drop a like, comment if you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more 2026 projection type of videos or player analysis or potential college fantasy content, let me know down below. Guys, have a great weekend. See you in the next one. Peace.